probably not wondering that hard because there is that frog there that was on the thumbnail. But you're looking.
So, a few days ago, at least as of recording this video, the famed and longest-running video games magazine, Game Informer, was unceremoniously shut down, leaving hundreds of employees completely gobsmacked and now out on their ass. And you know I'm being super serious when I use a word I've never said before out loud, but the situation is so ridiculous, it's cause for really ridiculous language. It just felt all too appropriate for this situation, which is embarrassing. Stupid? So many negative words. I'm just incredibly upset, as you could probably tell. 33 years and 368 issues of a magazine that I'm almost certain that all of you have at one point in your life opened at least once, whether you're perusing and just looking at the pictures, or you were a diehard subscriber like myself and you read every single word. It doesn't matter whether you were hanging on every word, or you were just opening it to reminisce briefly while you're visiting a friend's house. It's an important piece of physical media. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the game journalists you've watched or have seen were initially inspired to get into that space by reading a Game Informer magazine. It's been around so long, it's a very feasible thing to assume that most of them were at least a little bit inspired by this magazine. By the way, just to try and add a little bit of perspective to the 33 years number, the first issue of Game Informer officially came out in 1991. I was born in 1996. I know, I'm getting there. My big 3-0 is coming up rapidly, and I am scared. Not the point. While 33 years might not seem like an insane amount of time when you compare it to other magazines that have been running since 1890 or something crazy like that, this was print media about video games. It's been around almost as long as the industry. It's kind of insane when you think about it. And the fact that it lasted as long as it did was a true testament to how important it really was. Hell, for a short stint in the early 2000s, it was one of the top 50 circulated magazines in the United States. It was beating out publications like Entertainment Weekly, which I'm certain none of us have ever read, but I know for a fact we've all seen that sucker sitting in the impulse section of our local Safeway checkout stand. Before I got access to the internet growing up, this was one of the few ways I was able to learn more about a medium I was just beginning to become obsessed with. I had very few avenues to gain a little bit of insight as to what was happening in this industry. X-Play, my local GameStop, and Game Informer. These were like the top ways I was really gaining insight into upcoming titles or newly released titles that would be worth my time or not. Really, I just wanted to make this video to state how disappointed I am in GameStop. I mean, I have been for many, many years. It's gone so downhill since when I was regularly shopping there. They've destroyed at least one other company I relatively enjoyed in the past, and it sucks to see them do that with another one. Less than 48 hours after a horribly generic goodbye that was probably written by ChatGPT or something like that, and the website was practically wiped off the face of the internet. And when the employees got wind of this horrid goodbye and that they lost all of their jobs, they wanted to say farewell, personally. Well, GameStop didn't like that very much, so they nuked the entire Twitter account. Now, Matthew Miller, former editor-in-chief of Game Informer, did put out a statement on his own personal Twitter that I think was the best goodbye they could have given. Now, I want you to go and read it for yourself if you're a fan of video games, or hell, even print media alone. I think it's worth taking a look at. But I wanted to read a little excerpt myself here now, because I think it's probably the most important part of what he had to say. For millions of gamers over the years, Game Informer was a portal into their favorite hobby. Many of us grew up with those glossy covers arriving monthly in our mailboxes, selling the dream of what was next in gaming. It was one place where a love of gaming was celebrated without pretense or undue snark, where humor could coexist with thoughtful critique, and players could have each game enriched through a deeper understanding of how they were created and who created them. This magazine was the first time I really got wind of the people behind the games that I was playing. The industry suddenly had at least some sort of face to it. I was able to recognize people, and now these people are my rock stars. Without this magazine, it would have taken me a lot longer to get around to learning the names and faces of the people that are creating my favorite stuff in the world. I would have found them eventually, yes, but I found them a lot earlier thanks to Game Informer. It built more than enough curiosity in me to want to go out and start doing my own research, wanting to talk to these people, pick their brains, learn from them. And so now, I practically need to know the people behind my favorite games ever. And I'm not going to be naive enough to sit here and pretend like I don't get why a magazine was closed. Things are obviously way different now than they were 30, 20, 10, 5 years ago. I did not assume that Game Informer was raking in the billions of dollars and doing super well. Hell, with the price points they were offering, I was stupidly surprised that I was able to re-up at all. And I also don't want to sit here and act like this company had no fault or they were perfect, even though I just spent a couple of minutes sort of putting them up on a pedestal, so to speak. I genuinely didn't mean to get that idea across. What I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to be perfect in order to be important. And Game Informer was just that. It was important. I'm sure that a lot of people you watch and know and love do what they do now because they found this old magazine at a friend's house or in a library or at the checkout of a grocery store, and it really blossomed the hell out of the curiosity that was already deep-seated within them. Day by day, I continue to be disappointed by giant corporations that bust off the bottom rungs of the ladder that they use to climb higher and higher and higher on a daily basis, especially when said companies decide to practically erase their subsidiary from existence within 24 hours of announcing that subsidiary's closure. It's just more of the same shit. Could not have been more excited to see this in my mailbox month after month for many years. I was so hyped that they finally broke away from the power-up rewards program that GameStop forced them to be a part of. I thought, oh my god, they're gonna be around a good while longer after this. Well, fuck me, I guess. Sorry, I don't mean to actually be super upset. This is one of those situations where I feel it's better to revel in the fact that it happened than to be sad that it's over, I suppose. There are still hundreds of people who loved what they did, and now they're having to go out without real warning and find something else to do, because the gaming space, the gaming industry, it just keeps getting worse, and it really sucks to see. I am nowhere near being inside of this industry, but I know of at least a few people right now who are probably thinking, how much longer are we gonna last? It's quite clear you don't even get to stay around if you're doing really well. This shit's getting ridiculous. And whatever crash I mentioned back in my physical media collecting video, whatever crash is coming, it's coming a lot faster than I thought previously. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at a bygone era. I don't know, I feel like this is the most boomer opinion that I could possibly have, is just, give me my discs, give me my cartridges, give me my magazines, I want that. I understand that some things are more efficient and more cost-effective, but dude, this shit blows. I can practically feel, funnily enough, I can practically feel the prices of people's used Game Informers quintupling on eBay with this announcement. Call me crazy, but I want to own the things that I have purchased. I want to be able to have access to the things that I have purchased until one day I make the decision that I am satisfied and I decide to sell them off, donate them, give them to my friends and family. But day by day, that right is being taken away, and not just the video game industry, just as a whole, and it's driving me crazy. It's making me so sad. There's so much freaking good. But, I don't know, some days you wouldn't know it.